Welcome back. This is our sixth quarantine session together, if you can believe it or not. It's been a lot of fun doing these. I have a very special guest tonight that we're going to get to. But first off, just want to say again, welcome back. I truly enjoy doing these for you guys. Obviously, it's a hard time right now, and things are getting better, but look, it's going to be different for a very long time. But if I can be something for you guys to look forward to, not just myself, but my peers that are out there doing the different IG Live sessions, if it can give somebody something to look forward to during the week, to be that ambassador for not just our shooting sports, but also the Second Amendment, and just kind of bringing us all together as like-minded individuals together, a place to go on a Friday evening. I'm happy to do that. And look, this is something I really look forward to as well. I really, really enjoy these calls that we have together. Something I look forward to as I prepare for it, and it's just a lot of fun to be able to do this and interact with everyone. So, again, appreciate you guys coming back. You know, it's a tough time for all of us, and it's just kind of our escape, if you will, right? So, I'm going to take some of your questions as we go, as much as I can, but I do want to get to our guest here in just a little bit. But before we do that, I want to have a quick recap of what we covered last week. If you were here with me last week, we talked about training plans and the importance of those training plans. I know you can't go back and watch those, so I just want to just quickly touch on them. Is the importance of having a training plan. When you get to the range, you obviously want to have a plan in place, so that way when you go out there to train, you can actually accomplish a goal, whatever that goal might be. So you have to have a plan in place rather than just going out there and setting up what you're good at because it's fun and you see positive results. There could become an issue with that down the road because you're only working on what you're good at and not what you need work on. So continue to work on those things that maybe you need to be better at, or you're not comfortable with at a competition or in a real world situation, whatever it is. But we need to break those down. We need to have, what do we do before our training, what do we do during the training, and what do we do after the training. Those are all very, very critical components of understanding a training plan. So just again, real quickly, real briefly, before the training plan even takes place, before I get to the range, I need to make sure I have everything that I need in the back of my truck, whether it's my rig, my guns, my mags, my ammo, eyes, ears, chronograph, whatever it is that you need for the day. And you have almost kind of like I don't want to call it a call list, but almost like a list of props that are needed for that particular training session. It could be 4 target stands, 1 piece of steel, a shooting box, whatever the case is. Right? So make sure you have all those things and they're all loaded into the truck the night before you're ready to go. So when you get to the range, you can effectively work on that training plan and not have something that's been missed. Right? And then during that training session, we stick to the plan. It's 400 rounds of X amount of drills for a certain amount of time, whatever it is, and we stick to that plan. And we don't really deviate much unless we see a problem area that we need more work at. Then we'll do that. We'll kind of take rounds from somewhere else that we're doing really well, and we'll drop them into those other side of things that might need a little more work. And also during the training plan, I don't sit there and write down every little thing that I do anymore. But I typically have about 100 rounds loaded up at a time. And I'll shoot those 100 rounds in various drills. And once I'm done with that, I'll sit back before I load my mags, before I repair the targets. I make sure in my notes what I liked, what I didn't like, what things that maybe what I saw that I need to go back and work on, and what I did well. Then I'll go tape targets, reload, and then go ahead and run some more drills. But then after the training session, it's very, very important to make sure that we're taking those notes that are saying, what did we do well in training? What can we make? How can we make our training session better and more efficient and more effective next time? We want to make sure that we're doing things the right way, so that way we can address the next training plan. So not only am I thinking about what could I do better, but I'm also going to say, okay, how can I rebuild that training plan next time to be more effective and work on my key component areas that I need work at. And of course, that'll start to morph into like a big circle, right, to the next training plan. Just like if I go to a competition, I'm going to go to that competition, and when I'm done, I'm going to take notes of what I did well and what I did wrong, and I want to make sure that I'm doing the things needed to be better at what I'm trying to get better at. So long story short, the things that we're not good at, they should be in our training plan the next week or the next month or whatever the case may be. But a training plan is extremely valuable. It takes a little bit of time and a little bit of effort. And look, I know most of the guys out here do this for fun and do this as a hobby, and you don't want it to be work. But at some point, you want to beat your buddies, and you want to be better. And when that point comes, it's definitely beneficial to have that training plan. All right, guys, so look, we have almost 100 folks in here now, and what's up, brother? Good to see you on here, Mike. Alpha Mike, I see you, man. So It's great to have you guys out here. But before we kind of bring on our guests, we really want to kind of just give him an intro as well. He really doesn't need much of an introduction. Matter of fact, you know what? Let me get him on here right now so I can see his sweet rosy red cheeks while I do this. See if I know how to do this here. Here we go. Yeah, let's add. All right, let's see what we got here. He's coming to us from his basement in Pennsylvania. Where's he at? Doug, what's up, man?
What's happening, Max?
Good to see you, dude. Look at all those trophies behind you. You have to show off like that all the time?
Not all the time.
Awesome, man. Well, good to see you. Look, thanks for giving me so much of your time here tonight. I know we're going to be here for probably almost an hour. Once you and I get chatting, I know we're going to get to talking quite a bit.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so I just want to give you a quick introduction. So those of you guys who don't know Doug, obviously Doug's been shooting for a while now. He's a phenomenal shooter, even better person. But I believe it's 18-time. You can correct me if I'm wrong later, but let me get my spiel out here first. 18-time Yankee Cup champion, 20-time Masters champion, 3-time Steel Challenge champion because some guy beat you when you should have got your 4th, but it was some other ball guy that won that year.
He did, some young punk.
That was a little while ago. I think, and then also you're a fellow IPSC world champion. And I think one of the first guys to ever do it, and really one of the first guys to ever compete with a red dot optic on his pistol.
Yep.
But so Doug, I just want to say thanks, man, obviously for joining us here. And before I start shooting at you with a bunch of questions and trying to really get you going, I just want to kind of give my quick story of how you and I met. And maybe it's different from how you remember it, so you can elaborate on it. But I just remember it kind of the history between you and I, because I truly want everybody to understand here on the call that. It's not just having Doug as a world champion level shooter on the show here tonight. I mean, he's truly a great friend of mine, a mentor of mine, somebody I've looked up to for a long time for a number of reasons, which we'll get into during the show. But the first time we met, of course, I knew of you much longer before then. You didn't know of me, I'm sure, but it was 2000. I had just got out of the Army basic training in '99, and I was kind of getting my shooting career started with the Army Marksmanship Unit in 2000. And we went to the Steel Challenge. It was like August of 2000. I went with Jay Christie, who I'm obviously you know Jay, great guy, real good friend of ours, and he was like my first boss, I guess, if you could say that, in the Army. Unfortunately, I only had him for like 2 months, and then he left on to do bigger and better things, which sucked. I really wish I could have spent a lot more time with him. But anyway, he took me to the Steel Challenge, and I think it was like that Marie Callender's place or something that was like right by the hotel that we would always stay at for the Steel Challenge. Anyway, we went to dinner there, and he brought me to dinner, and it was you and Rob Latham at dinner, and I was like, I think I might have been 18 or something at the time. I might have been 17 still, and I was just sitting there like, wow, man, these are the guys that I've always dreamt of meeting, always wanted to be, wanted to shoot with and learn from. And I happened to be at that table, and it was, so I don't know if I was a little weird or giddy at the time, but it was fun to be able to meet you guys in person, and start that connection and that relationship that would start to go for 20 plus years at this point, and it kind of progressed from there. I mean, that's, back then too, in 2000, that's when you were really serious about Steel Challenge, and you were super intimidating, man, to be around. I'll never forget, like, you would change your shoes to shoot outer limits, and I'm like, wow. This guy's freaking intense, man. He's figured everything out.
Right.
So I learned from that, man. I did the same thing for the longest time. But it was just really cool at that moment to, kind of get to know you more as a person and not just Doug Koenig, the champion shooter, the intimidating guy. It was really cool to get to know you as a person. And over the years, I've got to peel back more and more of those layers to see the true inside of you, man. And you're an awesome person. You're a beautiful man. So, and then we kind of just keep going through that. In 2000, and we kind of, we knew of each other from that point on, and we would see each other at matches. I think we shot the L10 Nationals together some years later.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. But we shot 2005 at the Steel Challenge, the World Speed Shooting Championship. That was the first year that I won it. And that's where I was messing around and joking earlier, saying that Doug was going for his 4th cup at that point. And that's when I just started coming into my prime in the Steel Challenge game. And, I ended up winning that. That was my first one, and Doug was second there. But it was really cool because back then, Doug, you and I, we used to shoot the shoot-offs. I think it was like a Vita Vore shoot-offs or something for Steel Challenge. Yeah. To me, there was nothing else. Yeah, it was a team thing, right? Yeah. And there was nothing else like it. Still to this day, I don't think there's anything else like it from a shooting man-on-man shoot-off event because that's really the only time we can be a team, or anybody can be a team. And I always tell the story, man, because that is where I think we truly made like a real connection, because we were teammates at the time, and I had just won the match. You were second place, so I felt like your strengths were my weaknesses, and my strengths hopefully helped you. So I just felt like we were going to dominate that, and we really did, man. We went in there and we just crushed it. We set new records, and we just took it. I think
I was going to say, I don't think we lost a single bout.
No, I think we lost one only because we shot a fault. I think we did a fault. I don't remember who it was. It was either me or you shot the stop plate by accident. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure
you were too fast. You were too fast. I didn't get a chance to get everything done before you shot the stop plate.
Maybe so. But I remember, dude. I'll never forget. I was all happy. I had just won. My wife Jen was there. We had she was pregnant with Peyton, our first child. It was a big deal, you know, to win that match. And that's back when they were doing that 72 impossible seconds thing or whatever, where you can win all the money. And I didn't win the money, but I won the match. And you know, it was just right after Katrina, like weeks after Katrina. It was really a crazy time for me and my family. But we were there. I won. You were second, and we became teammates. And I thought this was gonna be the coolest thing ever. And we go up to shoot our first run, and we're on the line, like loading, making ready. You look over, and you're like, "Hey, mother effer, you nervous?" And I was like, I don't think so, but maybe I am now. Should I be nervous? You know, I just remember you like, this is how I take care of my family, so don't F this up for me. I'm like, yes, sir. I just remember, dude, it was so much fun. And I'm like, I'll do my job. It was all I had to do was shoot the 5 big giant targets, like at 10 yards. I don't even know what it was. And you said, hey, I'm gonna shoot all the small things. You shoot the big ones. Don't F it up, and we'll meet at the stop plate. And that was a great plan, man. Just let the young kid just blaze through and let you take those accurate shots, and we crushed it, man. That was a lot of fun, you know. So,
yeah, it was a good strategy for sure.
Absolutely, because I couldn't have shot those little ones back then. Even today, I don't want to shoot them. I want the big ones. You know, but then continue to fast forward, man. I think like 4 years later, in 2009, I was just kind of deciding, do I want to get out of the Army? Do I want to stay in the service? And you were awesome enough to invite me to your house, and we shot some Yankee Cup training together, and I went and shot the Yankee match with you like a month or two later. Totally got my butt kicked. That's not my thing, but it was really cool to be able to connect with you and your family, you know, again, on a personal level. We would shoot most of the day, hang out in the evening with the kids and with the wife, and just kind of be together. It was just a lot of fun to do that. Yeah. And it was at that time that I feel like we made more of a connection as just not competitors, but that's really where, you know, and this was 10, 11 years ago, where I feel like I truly, you know, was able to lean on you a lot more, you know, as just a competitor, as more of like a friend, and almost like a big brother, and as a mentor, not just for competitive shooting, but in the game of life and in the game of shooting, and truly taught me how to be a professional from that point on, and from the business side of things too. So I'm one of the lucky ones, I think. I'm not sure anybody else gets to say that about you, but it's been cool.
Thank
man.
you.
Yeah. Absolutely, dude. And
well, I felt the same way. I mean, you know, from the first time we shot together, I could see what type of person you were and what direction you wanted to go. And you know, I had some people when I was, you know, younger, starting in the sport, that guided me. I had Robbie and some other guys that, you know, gave me some good advice. Sometimes not always the best advice, but on the business side, I didn't really. I say business side, just on how to be a professional shooter. I never really had any guidance, you know, per se. It was just kind of feel my way through it. But I always just wanted to just be the best that I could be professional, train hard, and do all those things. And, you know, as I'm getting further in my career, to see you and some of the other young guys, especially you, just the way you are, family man and things like that, you remind me of myself. So, you know, I just love, you know, being able to, you know, kind of give you my 2 cents when you ask, and just anything I can do to help you out and not make mistakes that I made, or have an opportunity to benefit from a situation. You know, to me, it's just about moving it forward, and, you know, just that's to me just the way it should be, giving back and keeping that needle moving forward with all of us, because the bottom line, same with you and the next group and the next group. You know, if we don't embrace the young guys, you'll learn as you get older. You know, if the sport, you know, doesn't continue and evolve, you know, then what all the things that we have done, it doesn't have as much meaning, I mean, for what we've established. So to me, it's all about, I want to see all the shooting sports grow, and I love seeing your career and how you remind me a lot of myself, in the sense that I feel like I always looked at things a little different on how to prepare, how I wanted to prepare. I knew that I wasn't Robbie, and I wasn't Jerry Barnhart, and I wasn't Brian Enos and John Pride and Mickey Fowler. I knew I wasn't those guys. I knew I was Doug Koenig, and I had to figure out what that meant, how I needed to train, how I needed to eat, how I needed to prep my equipment, and all those things, that I had to learn and kind of figure out on my own. And, and just be able, but to have that opportunity then to kind of pass on, watch you take it to the next level. Same thing, you're a young guy, how you train and the different things that you're trying to do, keep yourself fit and get better. Not just, hey, I'm here, I'm shooting for SIG, I'm doing my thing, but you want to win, and you're doing everything you can do to win. And that, that's what I'm all about. It's over 30 years now, and like I tell everybody, when you see all the trophies behind, it took me 30 years to be an overnight success. That's kind of the joke I say all the time, and it's just hard work. It's just, you got to put in the time, and one of my favorite lines is, you got to embrace the grind. That's the part you got to love. You got to like working hard and doing all the stuff that a lot of people may not like to do. I mean, going to the match and win, that's awesome, but it doesn't just happen. You don't just walk out there and do it. You've got to do all the little things, and you got to eat the crap, to get there. You got to pay your dues in so many ways.
No, absolutely. So. No, and obviously that's some of the things I learned from you, and that's why you and I connect so well. Some of the most fun times that I've ever had with you was, because a lot of guys ask me all the time, what's your favorite match? And I'm like, I don't really have a favorite match, because it's all work. I mean, it's
right.
It's fun when you're doing well, but it's all work. So it's all the same no matter where I go and shoot. But it's really the people that I surround myself with, and the things that we do at those matches. And like the Steel Nationals has always been one of my favorite matches, because you and I would rent houses together. Our kids would get together. We would just shoot all day at the match, and we would train in the afternoon. Then we'd rush home, clean guns, hang out, have dinner. Most of the time Italian, because that's what I always want.
Always Italian.
That's right. And then we'd watch some Dumb and Dumber. We'd watch maybe some John Wick stuff.
Yeah.
It's been really cool anyway, getting to know you, man. So just thanks for sharing some of those insights of kind of how you and I connected, and
Absolutely.
some of the things we share. So to kind of start off a little bit light here, we'll start off easy. Tell me a little bit about your Eagles. What do you feel about your Eagles this year? What are you thinking they're going to do, and how did you become an Eagles fan?
Well, just living about a little over an hour north of Philly. Just that was our team, and I probably didn't really get into pro football till I was in my early 20s. My dad was into it, and he ended up getting some season tickets, and just did that. Me, my brothers, my dad, and some uncles occasionally, and we go to games, and that's just something we did every weekend, every home game, and on the away games, we just would all be at the house, everybody, and that was our game day on Sunday, and watch the Birds play. And my dad, when he passed away, I took over the season tickets, so I've been able to share a lot of those same experiences with my boys. And a couple years ago, when we got to the Super Bowl and won, was just an awesome, special year for my family, and obviously the whole region here, Greater Philadelphia region, to have the Eagles finally win one. And and then now moving forward this year, it's probably, the draft probably didn't go the way we kind of wanted it to go, and nothing. Listen, the players we took are all going to be good players. I think we as Eagles fans a lot of times look at what we think the needs are of the team and stuff like that, and we kind of have our what we would do, our fantasy thing. And I've got Bradley, who's playing Madden all the time and doing a fantasy league, so he's telling me what the Eagles should have been doing, and knows who should have traded and how many picks and all this stuff. So but it is what it is. It's a new season. It's about guys got to stay healthy, and they're always going to keep it interesting as long as they're competitive. It's football. Anybody can win on Sunday, and we'll see what happens. How about you and your Saints? What are you thinking?
Yeah, man. Obviously, Saints fan. Been a Saints fan for a long time. You know that. I don't know, man. I think we're still in our window. We still have an opportunity to win anytime we have Drew Brees, and now we have Taysom Hill back there too. That he just has a whole nother package. Who I really enjoy watching him go out there, and he can sling it too. I mean, he can throw it really well and really far.
Yep.
I just think that we're still in a spot to where we can have a chance at winning a championship, at least for a couple more years, and then from there, who's at the quarterback and who they're developing. I think that's important for the Saints.
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's exciting, man. Same thing. I got season tickets maybe 10 years ago or so, and been taking my kids ever since, as you know. And every time I'm home and I'm in town, we'll definitely hit a game. We try to do one away game a year. But I'm excited. I'm excited. I would have. Everybody wants to see those kind of sexy picks in the first round. Being an LSU fan, we had I think 14 guys go into the NFL through the draft. It was huge from LSU. It was really cool. But I would have liked to have seen some of those high end guys hit the Saints team.
Right.
But
and your whole division's now changed with Tom Brady getting to the Bucs.
It's stacked, man. It's
Gronk
crazy, which is going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, Gronk. It's going to be so much fun to watch those guys. I can't wait. I'm just a football fan in general, so I can't wait to watch it. But it does hurt me that Justin Jefferson went to the Vikings of all places. The Vikings have been just killing my Saints for the last few years, and to see one of our number one guys at LSU go there, that hurt. But yeah,
we wanted him.
I don't know why you didn't take him. But
I don't
anyway,
either.
Another story for another discussion. I would have been really pissed if you would have took him, by the way, because you took Sproles from me, right?
Yeah.
Sproles from me a long time ago, which I wasn't happy about. But anyway, so tell me a little bit about how you got involved in action shooting. I mean, I know you've been shooting for a long time, but how action shooting and how did you find that and why did you get started there?
Are you talking action shooting? Just how did I get started competitive shooting?
Yeah, just competitive shooting. Yeah.
So it's kind of funny, but I didn't come from a family of shooters or hunters. I know your dad shot, so you had somebody to kind of guide you. But I had an uncle that liked to hunt, and me and my older brothers just wanted to get into hunting. And fortunately, my parents, my dad, supported us in whatever we wanted to do. So we kind of got started hunting, 11, 12 years old, here in Pennsylvania. And when I was, 16, 17, I was always kind of the black sheep of the family. I kind of liked the handguns. I was always drawn to it. So I talked my dad into. I was working for him at the time as a carpenter. I said, "Hey, Dad, I want to get a pistol. I want to get a Colt 1911 45 government model." So we went up to a local gun shop. We bought a pistol. My dad bought it, and when we were waiting for it to come in, it's not like it is today where you can kind of go in and buy something and take it home. I mean, back then, shops had to order stuff, and it just took a lot. It was a different time. And fortunately for me, the shop where I got this, we ordered the pistol was Baylor Custom, and they were a custom gun shop, and they shot competitively, and they went to Camp Prairie and set up. They went to the IPSC Nationals, USPSA Nationals, Yankee Cup, Steel Challenge, and that's what they did. And the owner Frank, started talking to me, and they had just got back from the IPSC World Shoot that year, which happened to be in Orlando, Florida, at the old Orange County Sheriff's Range. And they had the course book, and they're showing me and telling me about how they're running around, doing reloads, shooting targets. And, I'm 17 years old at the time, and I'm thinking, holy smokes, we can actually do this? I mean, are you kidding? And so they gave me some holster and belt and some mag pouches, extra magazines, and, and then when the pistol came in, I did a little practicing, and then they invited me to a local match. And that was in the spring. It was like I say spring, but spring in Pennsylvania. It was still winter. It was March of '86, and it was in northern New Jersey, Ledgewood, New Jersey, a club there. And I went with Frank, and it was 16 degrees and snowing, and it was really cold, but it was a physical match. We had to go over barricades and all sorts of different stuff, and I was completely hooked. We shot like 250 rounds in one day, and then I knew, that I had to do this, and I never did it. Even from that moment forward, it wasn't like I said, "Hey, I'm going to do this for a living," or "I'm going to beat everybody." I was just like, "My God, I get a chance to shoot and get to shoot this much ammunition at a match, and it's organized and get better." And we just started shooting local matches, where I live. every Sunday you could shoot a match within probably an hour, hour and a half drive at the clubs. And we kind of had a group that would kind of travel to shoot all the local matches. And I think it was '87. I shot my first Steel Challenge. I ended up being fourth. I shot my first USPSA Nationals. I believe I was 12. I think. And then I think that year in '87, I shot Bianchi Cup my first time, and I won the junior because I was only 17 or 18 at the time. So that's how I got started. And then, it just kind of grew. And again, I just wanted to shoot. And I was just in a time where I wanted to learn. I wanted information and just could shoot as much as I could, or tried to as much as I could at home. Fortunately, we lived in the woods, and I used to, all the old trees that fell down, I'd cut them up, stack them up, and that was my backstop. And so I could kind of shoot in the backyard, and I just practice, and finally had some good finishes. And next thing I know, I have Ernie Hill says, who made Speed Leather at the time, hey, I'll give you some holster, I'll sponsor you. And Springfield Armory said, hey, we'll give you a couple guns. And and then the next year it was Safariland. Hey, we want you to use our holster. And it just, you start looking back, and it just kind of went on. And at that time, I was working for my dad as a carpenter. I went to trade school to be a carpenter, to be in the family business. And it started out like midweek. I'd say, hey, Dad, I need to take a couple hours off to go practice. I got a match this weekend. He'd be like, okay. And then as it progressed, hey, I need to take the whole day off. Oh, okay. And then, about 1990, I was like taking maybe 2 days a week off, to start practice more. So it was about 3 years in, and, just had the opportunity then to make the decision. Do I go pro? I had some sponsorship, and there was money to win at the matches at Bianchi, and the Masters, and Sportsman's Team Challenge. And I just thought, if I'm going to give it a shot, now's the time. I didn't have a whole lot else going on as far as, financial responsibility. I didn't have kids and all that stuff at that point. So it was kind of now or never, and I made the decision. And it really wasn't a hard one, because if it didn't work out for me, I love being a carpenter. I love working with my brothers, my dad, my uncles. So if it didn't work out, I would have been just as happy pounding nails and hunting and just doing the stuff that I like to do. But I look back and I go, wow, that was 30 some years ago. It's just really, really hard to believe. And the stories and people I've shot with and met over the time is just unbelievable. Really been a dream.
I think that's cool, man. That's a cool story to hear too. I mean, that obviously anybody who wants to do. Your dad doesn't have to be an NFL quarterback to become an NFL quarterback, kind of a thing. Yeah. Which is really cool to hear that side of the story too. But it is neat, like you said, it's the experiences and the people that we've met. Now I guess you can say I've been a pro for 20 years now. 10 years in the Army, which I don't know if you call that a pro, but 10 years working for myself now as a true pro, and then 10 years in the Army. It's like you said. I mean, all those cups behind you. There's so many stories that are with those cups. It's not necessarily the cups that are. There's so many people behind those cups, man. Like your wife and your sponsors and your kids that all sacrifice so much for you to be the guy, to hold the trophy. It's really cool that you kind of shared that with us. But if you look,
well, that's it's funny. I was already thinking that, and that's probably one of the most major things is, none of us, you, me, Robbie, we don't do it ourselves. You got to have a support system. It's you got to have for me a fantastic wife, great parents, a family support system. When I'm starting out, and then hey, it's not been pretty every year. When you're not winning and you're not making money, and it gets tough. But to have that support all the way through, and then as you're going through, to have that sponsorship support, and that's what makes it. I mean, that's the only way we can do it. It takes a village, right? Is that what they say?
Yeah, absolutely.
You just can't do it. We as athletes have to have the will and the motivation to do the work. But for you and I to leave for 3 or 4 days to go shoot a match and know that the kids are going to get fed, they're going to get to school, all the bills are going to get paid, stuff's going to happen. We got to have, for me, I got to have my wife handling that stuff. Make sure I know that I can leave, and when I come home, that doesn't really, they don't skip a beat. They just beat up on me a little bit more when I get there. But other than that, life goes on.
Yeah, and sometimes I'm not sure they know how much they're needed and how much they're appreciated. So
Yeah.
it's always definitely always a balance. That's one of the things that I've loved most about you over the years, getting to learn more about your kind of mindset and your mentality. Is you've always been a family guy. You've always coached your kids in ball, and you've always taken care of them and made sure that whatever you did it as a family. Got your kids involved in shooting. Obviously Michelle was always coming to the matches when Bradley was shooting and when Trevor was shooting. It was really cool to have. And your mom was out at the matches. I think Mark is on the show right now too, watching. He would come out to the matches, and which is one of your childhood friends. Obviously, for those that don't know, but it's just really cool to see all that. So, kind of on that topic, how you brought up, finding motivation and the will to go out and perform and have somebody behind you really supporting you. I mean, you've been doing this for, as you said, really professionally for, let's say, 30 years. You've been at the top of the game for 30 years in several different disciplines. You're not just a steel challenge shooter, not just a Yankee shooter, not just an IPSC or a USPSA, or now you're doing precision, the long-range rifle stuff. So 30 years later, I guess two parts of this question, but 30 years later, what could you have told yourself, maybe if you can go back 30 years now to say, young Doug Koenig, before you win your first IPSC World Shoot, this is something you can do to make it better down the road, or we can maybe shorten up your learning curve. And then, with that, how do you after winning all of these years, right, and bouncing around from sport to sport, let's say, how do you find that motivation? Because that's something I struggle with now. I'm not afraid to say it. When you're on top of the game, winning for so long, it's like a guy like Eric Raffel. It amazes me too. Some of these guys, and myself included, and you included. How do we find that motivation and that drive, which I think is important? So I want to hit on that. People are probably dying to know your mental mindset on that. How do you find that motivation and the drive to continue to perform at the highest level for 30 years?
Mm-hmm. Well, the first part of your question, I think the thing that I would like to have told myself back then is, be Doug. Do your thing. Do what you know. Don't try to emulate, everyone else fully. I mean, you can watch and learn and do things that work, but you have to realize that you're your own self. You have to figure it out on your own. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things. And just probably to seek some early help on the business side of stuff. I mean, fortunately, after a few years, I had a good friend of mine who had an attorney friend who kind of helped. I got involved with it. He still his firm still does a lot of work for me, and they helped me out in the beginning just on contracts and stuff. I mean, for somebody to when Springfield Armory really gave me my first contract, it was like a 6 or 7 page contract. I don't know what the heck I was looking at. I didn't know what all that stuff meant. I'm just a good old boy carpenter, likes to shoot stuff and hunt from Pennsylvania. I didn't know all this, use of image and all these different, licensing things and stuff. So I needed help with that, and probably just being able to kind of find that help sooner and never be afraid to ask for help. I think that'd be something, that I would tell myself. And then the second part, I think it comes back to what I said. I think for me, how do I say it? I like to win. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I do. It's better than losing, for sure. But I feel like my drive to win is because I want to make sure all my partners and sponsors get what they're paying for. I think if I win and can show their product and show how their product is used to the best of my ability, and that helps them sell product and innovate product and do things like that, and they're happy, then that's why I want to win. But the winning at the matches is second. To me, it's the prep. I mean, I love the grind. I love the work. I mean, it's corny as hell, but to me, growing up watching Rocky 1 and Rocky 2 and those type of movies, that's what motivates me, to see the guy who's down, who's not the guy that everybody would pick, and to have to go work and grind and grind and grind and just keep grinding. It's, and the saying is, we all have had it in our career, is the old line from Eye of the Tiger, you change your passion for glory. You win a few matches, you start feeling good about yourself. You feel like, yeah, I'm the shit. I can go win every match, and all of a sudden you forget, well, I didn't shoot it all this week, or I didn't work on my gun, or I didn't check my mags, or I didn't, do all the little steps, right, that we do before a match. You start getting lazy, and all of a sudden the next match you don't win, and so on and so on. And it's like, geez, you forget what you got to do, and you have to do all that little stuff all the time. And see, for me, I love all that. I love all that stuff. I love going to the range. I love going to the gym. I love figuring stuff out. I love tweaking my ammo. I love testing barrels. I like doing all that crap that most people don't want to do. They just want to take their shooting bag, a case of ammo, and go train. And that's fun. And I like to shoot too. I love doing that too. But I still love. I think it's the carpenter in me. I like having all the bits, and when you put it together, you see what happens. And your training is your homework, right? And the test, the match is the test. How did I prep? How did I study?
Yeah.
And I think that keeps me motivated. And I love to shoot. I love to hang out with good people. I love to go to, when I do go to the matches, if I can bring my boys, or like you said earlier, you and I hanging out, and different people that I really like to shoot with. That's what it's all about. To me, it's about the experience, because, don't get me wrong. This is obviously for social media, having all the cups, but people tease me before, until I had my brother build this trophy cabinet. I used to keep all my cups in a closet. It wasn't about showing off and showing all this different stuff. To me, it's about the experience and the people that I meet. And when I'm there to compete, I'm going to be as hardcore as I can be, and as focused as I can be, to do my job the best that I can do, and perform the best I can. But I love my dogs. I love my friends, and like, just hanging out.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. Because I had this one guy ask me one time, hey, what makes you the best? What separates you? Why do you win 95% of your matches? Why you? And I'm like, hard work, dedication, I guess. And he was like, I'm not taking that for an answer. So he kept digging deeper and deeper and deeper, and it really got me thinking. And I think, like one of the things you said, and what hit home to me, and what makes total sense, and what is truly what I believe today, is the love that we have, to grind it out, to work, the passion that we have. Because the hard work and dedication can only get you so far. Hard work and dedication might get you one national championship, maybe one Bianchi Cup, maybe one Steel Challenge. But after some time, same thing I tell my son. My boy is trying to be a college football player, and an NFL football player, thinks he wants to do in life. Look, man, there's people out there that are working just as hard or harder than you. And at some point, that hard work and dedication is going to wear off, because you're like you said, I've already won it. Do I really need to do it again? Or, maybe I am the shit. Maybe I don't need to work at it as hard anymore. But if you truly have a love and a passion to just go out there and grind and figure things out and learn on an everyday basis and continuously get better, I think that's what I think that's every top competitor in any sport. They just love to get better, right? They want to get better. And if they don't do something every day that's going to make them better. And what people don't understand, I think, sometimes is it's not always what we do on the range that makes us better. It's what we do preparation before we get to the range. Whether it's developing a training plan, making sure your barrels are proper, making sure the ammo is right, mags are right. There's so much that goes into it. And I have a team. I have a team around me. I have multiple gunsmiths, and I have a great company in 6 Hour, just like you have your great companies that support you. And so I think that's really what separates some of the guys who have been good for a couple years. And we both know people who can win a nationals on any given day, but they won't let themselves do it because they don't prepare properly. They're good enough, they just don't prepare. So, I think that's one of the things for me, is that love, that true love for the game.
Well, they're not willing to sacrifice what it takes to do that. They're not willing. Because that's the bottom line, to win, and to win multiple things, multiple times. And I'm not saying sacrifice in a bad way, but you just, it's sacrifice. You're watching what you eat, how you sleep. You're not out partying every night. You have to do the right things. Some people can work in that environment. I can't, and I know I can't. So I set the environment that I know I can be successful in. and there's times where you want to go hang out. You want to, stay up till 2 in the morning playing Madden against your buddy when you're at the match. But we know we got to get to bed at 11 because we got to get up at 6, 7, and be ready to go by 8 and shoot the first stage. So you have to have that discipline. You have to have that discipline. At a match, it's a little easier because it's structured, right? They tell you shoot time, you got to be there. You don't shoot, but you have to have that same structure and discipline to get out of bed, to get to the gym, to get to the range, to work on the stuff, to do some of the things that you got to do. And again, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, even 10 years ago, to be a professional shooter was a lot different than it is now. I mean, I wish all I had to do was go to the range and shoot. I mean, all the sponsor obligations and everything that we do, whether it's social media, whether it's just for me, with Ruger working, with engineers and just hopefully making product better and giving input, and with all the, companies I work with and just doing different seminars and different things, all that stuff takes time, it all takes time. And it'd be easy, if you could just, again, grab my shooting bag and a case of ammo and go to the range and be left alone for 3 or 4 hours. It's just not that way anymore. If I get to the range when I'm getting ready for something, I get an hour. I try to make sure I just, my phone's down, I don't look at it, and I focus for an hour, maybe 2, and you're back getting after it, And so it's about sacrifice and discipline, to keep, moving forward and wanting to be great. I want to be the best. I should say that I want to be the best that I can be. And when I'm getting ready for a match, I want to see what level I can get to. Whether it's at Bianchi, I want to shoot 192 X's. I want to shoot all X's. Yes, I want to win, but I want to shoot all X's. That's my goal. That's what I'm striving for. When I shot the Masters, I wanted to hit every single target. That was the goal. It wasn't, well, I just want to win, or I want to win this event or that event. I want to hit them all. And same with PRS. I'm shooting long range precision. People are like, oh, you shot really good. You only missed, whatever targets for the day. I'm like, well, I didn't think that was good. I want to hit them all. There's not a target there I don't think I can hit.
Right.
I want to hit them all.
Yeah, you set them all up for you to knock down, right? Not from just.
That's right.
Yeah. So I think that's cool, man. It's good just to stay in your mindset right now where you're at. I remember one of the other things you told me was, hey, I'm going to worry about all the things that I've won when I retire. Like, for instance, you and I both, we know how many steel challenges we've won and how many nationals we've won. And we're proud of those. We've earned those. We've worked hard to get there. But at some point, there's really no time to reflect right now, because we're always worried about the next thing, or not necessarily worried, but we're always preparing. Hey, what's next? I come off the line as a world champion. I'm like, oh, it feels so good. But then you're thinking, wait, I have another match next week, or I have, another thing I have to get ready for within a month. So there's not a whole lot of time to just take that deep breath and relax. So that's one of the things that I think that I've learned from you as well, and I think everybody here that's listening, that are paying attention here, can also learn from you as well. Is like, man, yeah, this guy's not just about winning the championship. He wants all the championships, and there's a dedication that's needed to be done for years and years and years, and a true love for the passion, a true love for the game, and the passion that it takes to do that, and the sacrifice. But yeah, it's been fun watching you do all those things over the years. And if you could look now from where the game was back then, let's say 30 years ago, 25 years ago, 20 years ago to now, how is it most different in your opinion from the competitions? Let's say IPSC or USPSA or Steel Challenge type of shooting. How is it different now than it was back then? The competitor's different. Is the stage is different? What do you see there?
Well, I think it's a little bit of, there's several things. You take Steel Challenge for an example, and even USPSA for that matter. When we shoot the nationals, let's say Steel Challenge, back right when you were kind of starting, you remember we'd go to Steel Challenge and it would take you 3 days to shoot 8 or 9 stages, right? I don't remember how many stages were in the match at that point.
I think it was 7. Yeah, 7.
So you'd go and you'd shoot 2 stages or 3 stages, and then the next day you shoot 2 stages, and the next day you shoot 3 or whatever it was. So you never really had time to get warmed up. You had to sleep and you had to think. You had to deal with match pressure over several days.
Right?
Where I feel now, I don't want to use the word easier because that's not fair. It's different that if you go out there and you're loose and you're feeling good that day, once you get warmed up, you can kind of just get on a roll. And I've seen you do it, now at Steel. I mean, you just get on a review, and KC and BJ, you guys just get on a roll, and you roll. If you weren't able to get on, if you only shot 2 stages, and the next day you had to shoot 3 stages over 7 hours, and the next day the times might be different. Again, I don't know if they will or not. They would or not, but I only know with what we did then and what it is now. And when I look at the times, I think our equipment's, with having the optics on, has helped us. Again, I think the iron sight guys that have good vision are putting together some fast times as well. But I think in general, the equipment, meaning more the optics probably than anything. I mean, I think the guns, a single stack 1911, it's pretty. I mean, the gun I'm shooting now is essentially the same setup that I shot 20 years ago, when I won 3 in a row. I mean, it's really the same exact setup, So I don't think that's changed. And I think in USPSA, and I might be have a different, more of a skewed vision because I'm older. I'm sure the older shooters felt that way when I was coming on and I was 17, 18, 19, 20. But I feel like it's gotten so fast that it's so speed heavy. It's so speed heavy compared to back then. And I'm not saying the matches aren't hard. They're hard in a different way. There's some matches we've had. I remember a couple years ago, Carry Optics Nationals had some long targets. I like that. I think it was good. But I think in general, a lot of the stuff is closer. I think if there was maybe more of a penalty for a miss, it might bring it a tinge, back. Maybe not as speed heavy, but I think there's more people doing it. I think the ability to get information. Back when I started, if I wanted to learn from somebody, I had to go take a class, right? When I first started, this will be cool. So I think I had shooting for about a year, and Frank Baylor and I took a Tommy Campbell shooting class. Tommy was going around doing lessons, so he came to our area, took a class, shot with him for a day. Learned a lot. I mean, I learned what Tommy did. I learned, observed, what I could take from that and how it could help my game. And I also learned that his style wasn't my style. And then about a year later, I think it was, a year and a half later, I went out and took one of Robbie's classes. And that was a real eye-opener, to see Robbie's training and the way he prepped was completely different than the way Tommy did it, But you had to go to a class. You had to take a class. That's the only way you were going to get that information. Or if somebody did an article in a magazine. Where now, I mean, everybody jumps on their phone and their iPad and they can pull up YouTube or pull up you or me or anybody else and find tips that we've done. Yeah. TV, all this stuff. There's so much information out there that I think people can watch this stuff and work on their skill set, dry fire, and do all the things that we didn't, I didn't have a clue about, or was learning once you got to a match and talked to somebody. Now that information's out there, and I just think the learning curve's much quicker, and I think the equipment learning curve's quicker. Again, back when I started, remember in 1990 when I won the IPSC World Shoot, and Jerry Barnhart won the Nationals that year, we were the first 2 guys to have optics on our IPSC gun. Now think about that. Now, if a guy wants to shoot open, I mean, he would never even think of not having an optic on. You wouldn't even know what a gun looked like without an optic, right? So we went through all that evolution. I mean, I had a conversation with somebody today. It was really funny. We were talking about old-time, Nationals and Steel Challenge and Bianchi. And the biggest thing I said is back then, if your gun just worked, I mean, if you could get through the match without a malfunction, you were probably going to have a chance to win because, gunsmiths at the time and just equipment in general, ammunition quality, all those things were not at the level they are now. I mean, it was hard to keep stuff running. Now, I mean, you can buy a gun from, Ruger and SIG and whatever, and the guns are fantastic technically. They work. You put good ammunition in them. They shoot. They're accurate. I mean, all these things, again, back in the day, gosh, if you had a gun that shot 4 inches at 50, that was a really good gun. Now, I mean, if it doesn't shoot 2 inches at 50, it's probably not a good gun. Even a production gun will shoot that good.
Yeah.
So it translates. Something I had a conversation with the long range rifle stuff. If somebody would have told me 20 years ago you could take a factory rifle, throw on a scope, and take factory ammunition and go shoot a 12-inch plate at 1,000 yards, I tell them, you are on heavy drugs, dude. There's no way it's going to happen. And now I can shoot 6, 7, 8-inch targets at 1,000 with my Ruger RPR, Hornady factory ammo, Loophole scope. I mean, right out of the box, factory. So I think equipment-wise, the technology is ahead, and people get to start out with really good stuff. And I think that with the information, I think they're game changers, in the sport.
Yeah, I mean, and it's been fun to kind of see that evolution, I'm sure. And maybe not so much fun, like you're saying, you don't like the speed stuff. I like the speed stuff, so
yeah,
that's kind of my deal. But again, that's kind of how I grew up on the game. It was different, when I started shooting. I know a lot of your peers. I know we're running short on time. You're only got about 10 minutes left. But I know some of your peers that were just like back then and just stopped shooting because it was a completely different game.
Right.
And that's one of the things that's made you so great is you were able to evolve through all these different things, and whether it was go shoot another discipline at the time or find a way to get better at that particular discipline as things were changing. So
kind of like a caveman.
I guess so, man. But look, before we run off too much longer, so tell me, obviously you've been around for a really long time. You just signed with Ruger maybe 2 years ago, I think now, something like that.
On my third year.
Third year. Wow. Okay. So tell us why Ruger, and what are you most excited about there?
Well, I think the thing that I was most excited about. Listen, I had 16 great years at Smith & Wesson. When I started there, I had some great people to work with, and when I was involved in the product, they had one 1911 SKU. And, when I left, I don't know how many they have now. I was part of the team, me and Plaxco and some gun writers and some different engineers were involved. Early days of the M&P project. And, like anything, time passes, people change, people retire. And, there just wasn't as much connection. And I felt like I didn't have the connection with the product as much as I'd like. And, some people were working at Ruger and approached me and said, hey, we want to start a shooting team, and we want to get your input and get you involved in the product. And because that's, as I move along, again, I love to shoot, but I love to work on the guns. I like to make stuff better. I like to be innovative, and I want to be utilized for my 30 plus years of firearm knowledge. And I think what I say to people too is, as pro shooters, the difference between us and a race car driver is they have somebody do everything, most of the time for them. But when you're at a match, you got to know how to fix stuff. You got to know how to work on guns and set up guns and all this stuff. So I'm so used to doing. I mean, I can build a 1911. I've been involved in building custom rifles. I've done, I've got so much firearm knowledge and then applicable knowledge on the range and in competition and stuff like that I wanted to tap into that. I wanted that to be utilized. And Ruger, has a ton of products. They've got the revolvers, pistols, hunting guns, competition rifles, the whole gamut. And I knew that some of the other shooting sports that I wanted to get involved in, there was opportunity there for me. And, I wanted to be involved in product. And that was one thing I was, that they brought me in and to help be involved in that and to start the team. And they wanted to be 100% involved in the shooting sports. I mean, that's their focus. That's how their focus is moving forward. And that's what I'm all about, so I wanted to be part of it. Bottom line, I wanted to be part of it, be part of a great company. And the thing I love about Ruger, they're great people, hardworking, great firearms, and everybody there that I've come in contact in 3 years, they love to hunt and shoot. They're my people, and that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about.
Same thing, we know we only have a few minutes left, but for me, when, a lot of people don't know, but you and I had a lot of conversations back in 2009 of where I would go and what I would do, and I
wanted you bad.
Yeah,
I wanted you bad, dog.
I really badly wanted to be your teammate, man. And then, but I just, I saw SIG as a brand new at the time, not a competitive shooting company, much like what you saw in Ruger. I saw something that I could be not just another guy on the team. I could be the guy to really guide the company in the competitive shooting world. And I thought, what greater way to do that? Leaving the Army, kind of did what I did there, left that better than I found it, I hope, and left it in great hands, and Travis Tomasi and some of the other shooters that were there at the time. And I found a company in SIG that I could feel comfortable with because they were law enforcement, military background. They had the academy going on, a great product, great people, all pulling in the same direction. It was really cool for me to be able to do that too. So I totally respect that. And look, I know we're wrapping up here, but I just want to say real quick, Doug, I mean, obviously I've looked up to you for a long time, man, as a person, as a family man, as a professional, as a competitive shooter, and just somebody who goes about life the right way. You taught me so much, man, over the years, over these last 20 years of not just going out there winning championships, because we do that, and we do that well too, but, we enjoy them when we win them. But you just taught me how to go about it the right way in the business side of things too. And it's easy, just like you said, just got to be Doug. And for me, it's just got to be Max.
Right.
Don't.
Well, I thank, I appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate, the opportunity. And honestly, I mean, I couldn't, I'm always proud and happy to, if I can help you and have helped you in any way, I feel great about that. But on top of that, you're your own man. You absorb the information. You work your ass off. I'm proud of you more than you can possibly ever imagine. I'm super proud of you. I love you. And, nothing but the best. I just want you to, I love it when you dominate. You know it when I call you when I'm not at Steel Challenge or something.
Yep.
I'm probably as nervous as anybody. I just want to know that you crushed everyone.
Yeah.
That's just, I want to hear it. You're my dog. So I'm proud of you. Know that. And, let's jump on a Madden game here pretty soon.
All right, man. I love you too, brother. I'm gonna drop you off. I'm gonna do a quick closeout for everybody else. But thanks again. We will do a Madden game here soon, man. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for having me. Take it easy, man.
You got it, Doug. Talk
See
soon,
you.
brother.